Ladies and gentlemen, Laura Clark.
I am trapped in my room as it fills with water. The window and the door are sealed. The water level slowly approaching the ceiling, and I struggle below the surface. Bracing my feet on the wall, I pull on the doorknob with no effect. The hand crank on my window won't turn, so I beat on the glass with my hands, my shoes, the marble base of a swimming trophy. But the window is thick and unyielding, like the glass in an aquarium. I try to claw through the wall. My bleeding fingertips leave behind swirly trails of red in the water as I surface to press my face against the ceiling and suck in the last breaths of air. When I wake, I am panicked, unable to breathe, and my body finally returns to itself, and my lungs expand with a sharp, greedy gulp of air. On other nights, I, and often my mother and brother, are being chased, our pursuers close behind. The most disturbing part of these dreams is that when we are inevitably cornered, I become rooted, unable to move. I open my mouth to scream for help, but can never make a sound. Again, I awake, feeling that my entire body is paralyzed under the suffocating weight of an invisible and unassailable force. But I knew that lots of children had nightmares, and if I ever sought comfort from my parents, I was told, "It's only a bad dream." So I never thought to mention that mine were frequent and recurring. My days seemed brighter than my nights. I recognized that I was blessed by relative affluence, a loving family, a sharp mind, and a healthy body. If life still felt hard, if my stomach was a series of knots through which I attempted to pass food, if I felt lucky to make it to the end of every day without grave injury, I chalked it up to being human in a world filled with poverty and injustice. I didn't talk to anyone about these feelings, but I didn't feel I had to. I knew I couldn't be the only one who felt this way. In middle school, I wrote a poem. Some people spend their whole lives like a child on a sleepover, just waiting for it to end so they can finally go home. As a young adult, I never understood why many people bemoaned the aging process, while I gratefully watched the years accumulate like the completed pages of a term paper, each one bringing me closer to my goal. In my late 20s, I mused with a friend about whether or not I might be depressed. After all, my father had taken his life when I was 21. However, I was not like him. I did not make drunken calls in the night about how terrible life was, or believe my life to be an unending series of mistakes. My friend and I confirmed for each other that the degree to which we felt life was hard was appropriate to the realities of the world. So I ran marathons, I sang, I meditated, I swam in oceans, I studied Tai Chi, I prayed. Anything to find some relief from the fear and sense of inadequacy that gripped my heart. By the time I was 35, I had lived and worked on 3 continents, I had 2 graduate degrees, I was married and newly pregnant. But I still did not know that some women took showers or walked out the front door without being afraid. And then 2 weeks before the end of the first trimester of my first pregnancy, my doctor told me there was no longer a heartbeat. I was admitted to the hospital to end the pregnancy. It was sad and scary, but I held on to my anxiety and my despair and did what I had to do. I shed a few tears, signed forms, surrendered my clothes, held the hand of the nurse, took deep breaths, and counted backwards as I was put under twilight anesthesia. It was the last time that I would know how to hold myself together, and even who I really was for quite some time. As I woke in the recovery room, I had that familiar sensation of being immobilized, but it lasted long after I was fully awake. Perhaps set off by the anesthesia or the sudden loss of pregnancy hormones, I came out of surgery feeling the full weight of what I had denied and ignored all of my life. It was not a simple sadness, or even an emotion of any kind. It was a physical pain that took my breath away. It coiled around my heart and attempted to wring out of it the will to continue beating. If I could have pulled my heart out of my chest, I would have. As I sobbed, I knew too that I had lost more than a pregnancy, and that there was no child or children who could return it. No longer content to check the days off my calendar, I now wanted for there to be no more days to count. I wished for this fervently from the moment I woke until the moment I fell asleep for the better part of a decade. Finally, though, for the first time in over 30 years of suffering, there was no denying that I was not okay, and that I probably never had been. My overdeveloped skills at hiding my depression made it difficult at first for me to get treatment. But when I did, I was stunned to discover that I, like most human beings, was able to be aware of the conditions and the perils of the world and not allow it to suffocate me. I learned that most people showered, opened the front door, entered rooms, went on trips without a breathtakingly painful sense of foreboding. They slept without screaming out. They knew joy without waiting for its inevitable end. So this is for every person I have told or will tell that their pervasive sense of despair is not inevitable and that they deserve relief. This is for the cardiologist at Mount Sinai Hospital who told me that my depression was not a medical condition and that I didn't really need my antidepressants. This is for the people, especially the children, waking up disappointed that they are still alive. I was right when I confidently wrote, "Some people spend their whole lives like a child on a sleepover, just waiting for it to end." But what I didn't know was that I and they did not have to feel that way. The miracle of being human is not the will to continue despite such suffering, but it is that we have the capacity to walk in this world and to know joys without fear, to feel that in our living, we are already home. Thank you.